reminder, every episode of this podcast premieres live on AMP. So download the app, subscribe to me at Richard Sherman to tune in to all of our shows live. Well, welcome back to the Richard Sherman podcast. We got a special guest, Geno.
Let's go.
2022 Pro Bowler, 2022 Comeback Player of the Year, Seahawks record holder for completion percentage, passing yards, passing attempts. Come on now. What are we talking about?
Thanks for having me, big dog. Thanks for having me.
No, I appreciate you coming on, man. It had to feel good. I mean, people already talked to you enough about, you didn't write back and all that, but you played every team that you played for. You went 3-0 against those teams. You went against Russ in the beginning of the season, and Pete tried to downplay it and say it didn't mean anything to anybody, but clearly it did. He's running through whiteboards. But it just was an incredible year for you, man, and I'm just so happy for you and excited for the future because, I mean, you've been here for 10, but you got to feel like a rookie.
Feel like a rookie, man. It feels like the first day. Like I just got out the weight room, man. The guys are all here. I mean, we got a good amount of guys here. Shoot, man, I feel like it's my first year all over again, dude. I'm trying to, recreate myself. I'm trying to prove myself all over again. It starts, from day one. So I'm just taking it one day at a time. Really just going out there trying to prove myself.
You got your payday. You got some financial security. That always feels good. You got respect. People always like, oh, man, give me all the money. But the money is more respect. Like, respect my craft, respect what I've done, and believe I'm going to do it again. So how did that feel, John and Pete and the Seahawks believing in you in that way?
I mean, it started out with just giving me an opportunity, to start, just to compete. And really, that's all I needed, dude. That's all I needed was that opportunity. And then, obviously, after the season we had, you kind of figure, they got to, put a little respect on my name. I'm not totally satisfied. I feel like I got a lot that I left out there that I got to go get. Yep. And so that's where my mind is, just focusing on, dude, what can I do to get better this year? How can I lead these boys better? How can I be a better teammate, a better player? How can I produce better on the field, produce more wins, more yards, more touchdowns, really get the fans excited, get them going because, we're building something here special and I really want to be a part of it.
I mean, last year the expectations were so low, because Russ left and all the kind of unknowns. You know what I mean? People just didn't know what this team was capable of, and to take your team to the playoffs, to have a record-setting year like you did. What are the expectations for you and the team going forward now that you've proved, you always knew the receivers you got. You got 2 tackles now, 2 young tackles that played really well, a young running back that played really well. A few pieces on defense. You got Bobby back. That's going to be huge.
Big, huge. Yeah, expectations are what you make it. I think it starts with ourselves, setting a standard for ourselves. And like I said, it starts every day. You can't just pick it up and put it down. You can't have an on and off switch. And so setting the expectation, setting your goals high, right? You want to think Super Bowl, championship. I mean, that should always be the expectation. Last year we kind of snuck up on some people. Like you said, we had, Bobby and Russ leaving. No one knew what to expect from us, but we had a young team. A lot of guys stepped up, a quarterback who was a backup for a bunch of years and stepped in and made some plays. Now people are expecting us to do well, but, it really comes down to the standard we set for ourselves. And so I expect us to win a lot of games. I expect us to be, a top offense in the NFL and, to be a winning team, a championship team. And it's going to take time. It's going to take hard work, but we got the guys, man. Getting Bobby back, that was huge. We're going to get Jamal back this year. We added some pieces. We got a draft coming up. So, we got all the things we need. We just got to keep working at it.
When do you think it changed for you? Was it coming to Seattle? Was it your time in New York? The second time in New York? When do you think it really changed where you're like, hey, I just need another op and I promise you I got the answers?
I think it started with, after I tore my ACL, man, I got my job back with the Jets my 4th year. And the game that I started off great. I'm playing great, tear my ACL midway through the second quarter. The next year, I'm on the Giants and I'm, the backup. And I remember a guy telling me, man, you got a better chance of hitting the lotto than getting the start over Eli. I remember telling me that early in the year. And it kind of just pissed me off. And so I just went to work from that point on. I worked my ass off. I didn't care who was watching. I was in the weight room before anybody. I was making sure I was the last one out of the film room. And, some people took notice. Obviously, it was one game. That pissed me off. Went to the Chargers. They told me they were going to look for an upgrade. That pissed me off. So it was just a lot of things, in my past that just kept pushing me and fueling me. And I think that chip on my shoulder, I came in with a chip on my shoulder, but, man, that thing became massive. And shoot, now at this point, man, it's like it's hard for me to even turn it off. Like I can't not be mad. I don't care how much money I make or am going to make or will make or have made. I'm pissed off, man, every day. And I wake up with it on my mind every day, man. How can I be great?
When you came out of West Virginia, the expectations were sky high. Obviously, it's hard to thrive in a tumultuous environment, a chaotic environment like it was when you came into the Jets. So how was it coming into the Seahawks with Pete Carroll? You know, Pete is like a steady ship. You know what you're going to get every day, no matter how monotonous, boring, but you know the man you're going to get, the structure you're going to get. Did that have any effect on you?
A huge effects, man. It changed me because I had been in so many, I would say kind of negative environments. And then you walk into a real positive environment with the coach who you almost like the first couple, team meetings, you're like, all right, is this real? Is this a parody? Like, is this going on for real? Like guys shooting hoops, you got music playing, everybody just having fun. You're like, okay, like something's going to happen at some point, it's going to change. And then you're here for, the course of now 4 years for me, it's been the same thing every day. I mean, Coach Carroll is as vibrant, as energetic as anybody I've ever seen. That's player, coach included. I mean, this guy brings it every day. And it's refreshing. It's refreshing to be around great people and to just be learning and growing. It's one of those places where you'll never forget it.
No question, no question. And when you came in, obviously Russ was the guy. Was there things that he taught you just about routine, work ethic, how to approach the game, the work that he was putting in that you feel like really kind of like you've put in your bag and like, hey, man, I'm always do this from now on?
For sure, man. Like Russ is my brother, and I always thank him for the motivation. When I got a chance to start, I was thanking him for the motivation. When I got my contract, I texted him. I was just like, man, thank you, because his unwavering belief in himself, unwavering belief in the people around him, in his routine, the way that he works every single day. One of the greatest players, in my opinion, to play this game. I think, from where he came from, being a third rounder, smaller guy, overlooked, to become what he's became, obviously it takes a lot of hard work, but a lot of belief, a lot of passion, and just a steady routine. And that's something that I learned from him. I took from him, the people around him and how you motivate people, how you push certain buttons to get guys going. All those things I really learned from him.
Now, you done made the Pro Bowl. I'm sure, I don't know what your goals were going into the season, but that seems to be, usually one you check off if you haven't had one. Yeah. Y'all went to the playoffs. What's the next step for you? What's sitting at the top of your list right now of goals, personal and for the team? Obviously, Super Bowl, I would guess, is for the team.
Yeah. I think it just starts with, as you know, man, just owning the division. Starting with the division. We lost to San Fran 3 times. We beat everyone else, but we lost to San Fran 3 times. And so, it starts with them. They're at the top of our division. They've been, they've won it, the past 2 out of 3 years. And so, beat them, right? Beat San Fran, beat the Rams, beat the Cardinals. Starts with consistency, every single practice, right? Being on point, every single game, being out there for your guys. And then when you talk about goals, right, you just talk about how can I be consistently great on each play? And then over time, that stuff will add up. It'll add up. I didn't never think about, hey, I want to go to the Pro Bowl this year. I thought about, man, let me just dominate one play at a time until I have no more plays left. And, you look up and it's like, okay, 30 touchdowns, 4,200, and, lead the league in pass and completion percentage and all those things. But it starts with the down in and down out, just internal focus. All right, one play. And after that, man, you can just control that, and then you see what happens after that.
Right. I think people get so enamored with the outcome goal that you forget the process, and it's the people that fall in love with the process and really grind through that and don't even peak at the end goal that end up making it there.
Yes, sir.
So what would Geno right now, veteran, went through the ups and downs of the league, tell Geno in the draft room that's waiting past his time?
Yeah, be patient. I think that in itself, just the fact that I had to sit and wait, I think that's a microcosm of my career, right? I had to sit and wait at the draft. I had to sit and wait for my opportunity here. And so be patient, work hard, believe in yourself, quiet the noise, don't even focus on the outsiders. They don't matter. Focus on what you bring to the table and how you can be great. And then just be you, man. Just be yourself. And, whoever doesn't like it, they're not for you.
Was it ever a moment this summer before negotiations finally closed where anything in your mind was like, I might not be here? There's a chance.
Sherman, that's always the case.
Right.
That's always the case, man. As you know, the league's year in, year basis, man, and you never know. That's why it's so important that you stay focused and just focus on improving yourself every day, because it's always the case. We don't get to write the checks for ourselves. And so, of course, I wanted to be here. Of course, I felt like they wanted me here. But until that pen hits the paper, man, you just never know.
Right. You don't. Well, you got a draft coming up. Y'all got some good pieces, especially defensively. Y'all D-line very solidified. Bobby coming back is huge in leadership and back end, but this draft is going to be interesting. They got some good picks. Take the quarterback Geno out. GM Geno. Who we getting?
I've did some studying. I've done some, poking and prodding. I've talked to some coaches, some higher ups in the front office, try to get some things done. Honestly, man, I think it just comes down to, if I'm drafting, if I'm a GM, I'm picking, best available player, right? Like, I'm thinking, how can I add depth to my team, no matter what position it is? It could be on offense, right? It's becoming more of an offensive league, right? So if you got... It's still defense. You got to score points. I mean, I think you see the Super Bowl, right, with two teams who have really good defenses, but they're scoring points back and forth. And so you want to add weapons, right? You want to add, whichever guy. I won't say any names, but there's some guys who, I got some eyes on some guys out there, and there's some really good players out there. And so, adding depth to the offense is always my thing. The more weapons, the better for the quarterback.
Right.
But, I do understand that, we need to solidify some pieces on defense as well. And so, I think best available, if it's a D lineman, if it's an outside linebacker, if it's a corner or a receiver or a running back or, another lineman, it just depends on who's there at what time.
Right. It's going to be a crazy draft, because these draft experts every day is like 4 quarterbacks are going. Now they're saying, no, there's teams that don't even got a first round grade on these quarterbacks. It's like, man, just shut up. Y'all had Malik going first round last year and he didn't go to the 5th. That kind of like, after that, I was really like blown. I'm like, come on, y'all. I don't know where your sources
just
are.
Throwing stuff out there. Yeah, the sources is themselves.
Right. But I think it's going to be great either way. It's nice to have that draft capital, and with the talent y'all got. Obviously, it's been a great year having Tyler Lockett, having DK. Those boys are. People don't know he never gets credit, but Noe is an issue.
Listen, I was telling somebody, I was like, he's got to have an alter ego, because you watch Noe around the building, you're like, okay, there's no way. And he puts his pads on, and it's a completely different person. You don't even recognize him no more.
Right.
Completely different dude.
He's a killer. He's a killer out there.
Yes.
Like, he's the most humble, down-to-earth, look, I'm going to be a real estate agent, and I'm going to do this. And he will go out there and ruin somebody's day.
Yes. I've seen it happen.
Right.
Yeah.
What was that, y'all at New Orleans, where you just bombed them boys 2-3 times in a row?
The funny part about it is that early in the game, he didn't get the ball, the first couple drives, right? And so Tyler's real quiet. So he comes off the sideline like talking stuff like, hey man, he can't guard me, like, mother, you know what I'm saying? Like talking. I'm like, hold up, Tyler, like, okay. So then it's like, beat him, and he just went off.
Right.
It just lets you know, like, man, when he brings that dog out, man, just give him the ball, man. He's going to find a way.
He going to find a way. And people was complaining. They're like, man, he slides on the ground. He does it. Like, he's trying to make it through this game. Y'all don't understand this league. Y'all happy when he getting 1,300 yards.
Yeah. Hall of Famers, right? Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne. I mean, they started that. So, he's not the biggest guy. So he's self-preservation, right? You got to play for the whole season, not just one game.
Right. And he catching it over the middle. It ain't like he not catching them. He ain't alligator. He catching them, get busy. Oh, that's enough.
Yeah. Smart player.
Yeah. I love it. How has your game evolved? Because, boy, you throw a pretty football, but you sitting in that pocket, you not moving around, you making your reads, hitting your back foot, letting it go. Like, when did the game slow down in that way for you?
I think it's continuing to slow down. I think last year, over the course of the season, it slowed down for me. I think it always starts out pretty fast, right? Training camp, things are moving fast, and then you get your eyes and your feet under you, and then things slow down. But I think for me, it started with my preparation. And I would say after maybe my 4th or 5th year, things started to make sense to me as far as protections and, getting the whole picture, right? Like, the bluff, who's bluffing me, who's not, who's coming, like understanding how defenses work and how coordinators like to plan things. It really started to pick up around my 5th year when I was with Phillip Rivers. He's just one of those mental giants who, took my game to the next level, like allowed me to see some things that I wasn't seeing before.
Right. And Shane Waldron's offense, which is similar to Shanahan, similar to McVay, similar to that West Coast tight window throwing. People don't understand. Sometimes you throwing into windows that, I mean, either they not there or they not there when you want them to be there, but you still got to put the ball there. It might be a
Yes,
backer
sir.
right there who's about to move, but you got to hit that back foot and say, hey, he's about to be gone. Let the ball go. Was that a transition? Was there growth there for you? Because that's not something people are accustomed to. That's why everybody can't play in those offenses.
Yeah, it was. It's definitely. It took me some time to anticipate, right? Like just knowing the windows, and a lot of it's coverage based, right? Like a certain coverage, you can know, like, okay, I can throw it in that window. If it's covered 3, I can throw it in that window. The safety's high. He's not going to be able to make that play, and it should be behind the ear of the linebacker, and DK or Tyler or one of the tight ends. They're running right in that window. Takes a ton of reps. Repping this stuff out in training camp, repping this stuff out in practice. Even after practice, just getting a feel for these guys and how they run and their tempo. That's a big part of our offense, right? Like timing, right? Rhythm, staying on schedule. If you want to stay on schedule and limit the sacks and limit the turnovers, well, then you got to play, within the system, within the offense. And so I try to do my best to do that.
Boy, Kenneth Walker III, that boy was toting it when he finally got out there. How much easier did he make the game? I mean, he made a lot of explosive plays. You handed it to him, you running 60, 70 yards in some big games. He had some really, really impressive games. And, I think that's why they feel comfortable moving on with him. But how much did you see him grow throughout the season?
Yeah, I think Ken, man, it started out with he was just coming in behind, Rashad Penny. And, Penny was had a great year to start. He was coming out hot. And, so it limited Ken's reps because, we got to give it to the hot hand. Right. And we always knew Ken was going to be great, really from training camp. Saw him take a couple, sweeps and a couple handoffs and just make a couple guys miss and explode. And you're like, man, this guy's got juice. And so the Saints game, right? The Saints game is when he really, opened our eyes, right? He took a normal handoff, 70 yards, and just blew past everybody and scored, put us up in that game. And from that point on, you can just see where his confidence took off. He's like, yeah, I can do it. Right. I can do this stuff. And so it went from, he's the pup to now get this dude the ball. He's a dog and he's going to make things happen. And so I was very impressed with what he did last year, all our rookies, but especially him. And I think him transitioning into, the next season of being the bell cow, right? Like he's not sneaking up on anybody. They know what he can do. When he gets the ball, all 11 is going to have eyes on him. And so, just working on him and trying to get him better as well and just figuring out new ways for him to be an even better back than he was last year.
And talk about those 2 tackles. They had a really good year. You'd never expect that. Usually 2 rookie tackles don't go well. That season is usually quarterback, hey, get the ice, get the hot tub. But those dudes had really, really incredible seasons, especially for rookies. And they'll only take bigger steps in year 2. What did you feel like helped them? Obviously you hitting your back foot, letting the ball go helps. But did you feel like you spent extra time with them or you did anything to help their progression throughout the year?
I think it started with them, the individual. Both are very mature guys. Their maturity, right? Coming in, being pros right away. Charles Cross, the thing that stood out with him for me was the first week of OTAs when he got here, he was already the starting left tackle. And he was making no mistakes. He just jumped right in and it felt like he'd been here the whole time. And when you got a guy, this guy's a rookie, right? But it's not too big for him. He's not wide-eyed. He's not afraid of anybody. He's not afraid of, there's some great defensive ends and edge guys that he has to face. And he's going to see that every single week in this league. And he's up for that challenge. He's ready for it. I talked to him and he's like, I just go play. I just go play and do my thing. And I'm like, shoot, that's all you got to do. And then you talk about Big Abe, right? Another mature, big dude, but mature kid. And he's ready for it. It's nothing that it phases him out there. He's not afraid. He gets beat. He's like, all right, whatever. He comes to me on the sideline. He's like, hey, how's the protection? How's the pocket? And this is a rookie tackle doing this every single drive. How's the pocket? How's the protection? To the point where I'm like, dude, it's fine. I got I'll talk to you when I'll talk to you when it's not fine. But just the things that he does in his routine, that's his routine of, figuring out how he's doing throughout the game. And so having those 2 guys and the way that they played every single snap, every single practice. They competed their butts off all year. I'm just so happy to see because those are 2 franchise tackles. I'm happy to see where the direction of this team's going to go with those 2 guys leading it.
that's a huge part of a team, just having those foundational pieces at the tackle spot. And you're not paying them $1 gazillion right now. You will be. You will eventually.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Yeah.
But having those pieces in place and then having a defense in place. And I hear Pete's going back to the scheme. Thank God. And it's going to, I think the defense is going to really turn it on this year. They're going to be very sound. They're going to be fast. They're going to be flying around. You got all pro players like Jamal Adams. He's going to be back feeling good. Quandre been back there balling, made huge plays down the stretch for y'all. The Rams game, his leadership has evolved. Tariq will only take more steps forward. Mike Jack is back. I don't know what they'll do on the other side of the corner, but it's going to be a really fun year. And I don't want to take too much of your time. I know you got things to do today. If you got any questions for me, feel free.
I got no questions, man, but I appreciate you having me on, man. I watch your podcast all the time. Love what you're doing, man. Just keep it up.
No, I appreciate you, man. I really appreciate you taking time out of the OTAs and out of your day. Good luck this year, and hopefully we have you on during the year.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You can book it.
Yep, appreciate you.
All right, brother.